my name is Dylan Toth. I'm a sophomore family and consumer sciences education major with a double major in political science. So in reading the assignment for the cultural bag video presentation, if you will, I was kind of interpreting culture so much to me is not so much in the nationality or ethnicity, religion area, more so as what I've defined as my own culture and my own personal culture, and what I've really been able to think about over time and over the years. I've had a couple different experiences, so just being able to see kind of what I defined as my own personal culture. Then after watching Dr. V's example video, I know that it was more culture for her nationality and different things, and I was trying to think of different things. I'm Irish, German, I'm an Hungarian, and I was just trying to think of different things that have really been important to me in those aspects. And really, my family was never super big on our familial past or our culture or anything like that. So I was like, I don't know if that's so much important to me to talk about as what I've kind of grown to define as my own culture. So here's, as Dr. V mentioned in her video as well, a good men folk do not have an appreciation for bags. So here's my makeshift bag. It's a little Cubs blanket kind of wrapped into a pouch, but it does also mean something to me. This Cubs blanket my mom gave to me the day before I moved in, because that's what moms do. So they get sentimental because we would always go to Wrigley Field, just the two of us. Even though we had a family of five, my mom and I always had a great relationship. She grew up on the north side of Chicago, so she would always go to the Cubs game with her friends, and that's always something that she wanted from her kids. So my sister and my brother, both younger, they kind of more aligned with my dad's side, and they were big Sox fans. So not liked in our family, but my mom would always take me to Wrigley on like our Mama on Sundays that we would do. And so we would always go to Wrigley Field, watch those games, share a pretzel, things like that. That's something that I've really enjoyed, that bonding time that we've had, and still to this day, like even though we've been at school 200 miles away, it's still nice to have that good relationship with her. And then she gave me this little Cubs blanket to use, and when I'm hanging out in my dorm room, to kind of remember her by, and think about her, even though we're not together all the time, we don't talk all the time, so it's nice to see. But the first thing, so these things are so much like I mentioned already, not so much cultural things related to my religion or ethnicity or anything like that. While those things may be important to me, it's not something that's defined who I am. So I believe that with this cultural video, I'm able to express kind of what has made me grown, what has made me into who I am today, and it's not so much, that aspect of things. So I'm kind of turning this into my own culture and really what's created me as a person. So the first thing is my little IEA name tag. So I got this when I was elected as the student IEA chairperson-elect. So the IEA stands for the Illinois Education Association, and it's a teachers union in Illinois. Most teachers are involved with that one. There are two major ones in Illinois. One is the Illinois Federation of Teachers, and then one is the IEA. So this, at ISU and a statewide organization, we have a student program of that union. So any student in the state who wants to go into education can get involved in the union. They pay dues about $20, and teachers pay dues about $400, $500, yet we get the same benefits. You're still a union member. You're able to get that intro experience into the union. So it's just a really beneficial program. So I will actually be chairperson of the statewide IEA. I'm also president of the Student Education Association on campus. So that's kind of ISU's chapter of the Student IEA. And what I've learned from that, going to representative assemblies, being in those big democratic bodies, voting on things, learning about different leadership responsibilities and things like that, sitting on committees. Is starting in July. I'll actually be on the IEA Board of Directors, which is a prestigious group that kind of guide everything, IEA related, whether it's dues or they're the ones that coordinate with their region. So mine would be the student region, about what's happening in the union, what's happening in education as a whole. A big part of that is political action, which I'll talk about in a little bit. It's also something that's super important to me. So I really value that experience that I've had with them. So this little name tag carry around with me at those events. It also sits on my little bulletin board in my room. So it kind of reminds me of that togetherness, united, those values I've kind of gotten from the union. So just being able to see that and be reminded that we're stronger together, we're stronger united. Those values have really been taught to me through the union. So next is also, like I mentioned, political action is a big thing for me, is this McLean County Democrats pin that I got. Sorry to keep it partisan, but I got that the first time I volunteered politically in the area for Alex Campbell for Normal Town Council. So I did mention that I'm a double major in political science, so politics has always been an interest to me. And then when I got to college, I was going through freshman year with a single major in FCS, and I kind of kept thinking about political science, whether I wanted to change majors and things like that, but I always wanted to be an educator as well. still going to do 4 years. I was on an accelerated plan to get out in 3, but then I was like, what's the rush? Let's do the political science major. So we're doing that, and so that pin also represents kind of, like I mentioned, that togetherness, that stronger united bond that I've gotten through the union. And the union and politics are, education and politics is incredibly tied together. People say, education isn't political, we should keep them separate. I'm a firm believer against that. I believe that everything is political, especially education. Our education salaries are paid. Politicians decide our salaries. Politicians decide where our schools are funded, how they're funded, how much they're given. The school zones, they're decided. Everything about education is political. And that's something I've learned through the union. And then also volunteering politically and getting involved politically is definitely something that I've learned from that. So that pin just kind of reminds me of my passion for politics. This isn't so much a hobby, as I've learned, it's become more of a passion. So that is something that I value, and that's something that will always be with me. So I'm looking forward to my potential career in politics, and we'll see how that goes. So this picture is me and my 3 closest friends on the day of our high school graduation. So that's my friend Amy next to me, right here, then my friend Zach, the tall one, and then my friend Giovanna as well. So they are the ones that kind of taught me quite a bit about who I am. So they picked me up. They happened to find me during a rough patch during my high school career. My sophomore year was not really good, and I'll also get into that a little bit as well. But they were kind of the ones to pick me up, and they somehow found me. They somehow came to my life and kind of showed me that friends can be true. I never really had a best friend. I never had close friends. I'd always have a bunch of little friends here and there, and I valued that, but I didn't know any better. So they really showed me that the impact that you can have on your life is really incredible when you come into there and you almost save them, and they don't even know what they've done for me. They'll never fully understand the value of what they've given to me and what they've done for me. So they'll always be special to my heart. They'll always make me remember that, going into my future, especially in education, is, just one small step into someone's life can really impact them forever, and I know that they have impacted me forever. So this next part, cheesy, but this is my Office of Admissions polo, so that's my little name tag as well for that. I'm stocking up on name tags, I guess. We'll see. We'll see what's next. But that's my Office of Admissions polo, and that just allows me that job. I'm a tour guide, so you'll see me on the quad walking around giving tours to prospective students. Has taught me that sharing what I love the most, ISU and my program in general, talking to maybe prospective education students in specific, being able to share what I love is incredibly valuable. So when I came to ISU the first time, my tour guide was really bad, to be honest. It was really awful. He was awkward. He kind of steered me away from ISU. And so he came, and he just didn't seem passionate. He didn't seem like he enjoyed it. So ISU became like my 3rd or 4th choice school. And then I came back in March, super close to that May 1st deadline during my spring break. And I had this tour guide, and he was incredible. And he was able to talk about what he loves about ISU. And he was a nursing major, so he didn't even relate to me directly. He wasn't someone who I knew that it would be a mentor in my future. But he just made me so passionate about ISU, and it kind of, bumped up from spot number 4 to spot number 1 on the list, and a month later I enrolled. So he just really showed me that when you share what you love with people anyone who asks, you could really have a great impact on their life, because here I am. I thought I was going to be at Bradley or Michigan or anywhere else like that, and, I never thought that I would be here, and here I am, and I'm loving it. I've had incredible opportunities, whether it's, IA activities or political activities, anything like that. I've just really grown as a person, and that's why so many of my artifacts here relate to what I've done at ISU, even though I've only been here for a year and a couple weeks. How much the impact that ISU has had on my life forever, that I already know, has really shaped my culture. It really shaped me as a person. That's something we've talked about and read about a lot in our classes, what shapes us, and how different things impact us. And that's kind of what it is. This is, even though being a tour guide isn't my artifact, it kind of represents what I like to do, and it's the sharing what I love, sharing what I'm passionate about, and talking to people, getting to know people, getting to know people's interests, and I feel like that's super cultural, and that's incredibly important in our future. So second to lastly is my little Red for Ed t-shirt. So this isn't so much the union. I did get it from the union, but it definitely represents my love for education. So while I talked about the union a little bit and my love for working together to get things done, education is really where my heart's at. That's where all of our hearts are at. That's why we're taking this class, learn more about the social foundations. That's why we're all going to be teachers. So the Red for Ed movement is something that's kind of like standing together for teachers who don't have it fairly across the nation. And so education is about directly impacting your students in a positive way, and also supporting other teachers and other educators, in your realm. So working with the union and going in education, I've already gotten to meet so many different students that have the same passions as I do. We're all passionate about helping students. We're all passionate about changing their lives. We're all passionate about showing them their direction, whether they know it or not. One of my favorite quotes is, "We like to polish the diamond." We like to polish the diamond until they shine, or something like that. We polish students, whether they don't shine or not. We polish a diamond that's underneath them because we can see it, yet even though they maybe can't be able to. So Red for Ed, for that, the little shirt represents that for me. So it represents me being able to look forward to being in a classroom, working directly with the student, impacting their culture, hopefully helping them find their culture, discover their culture, while also finding my culture. So I've been really looking forward to that, and so that's kind of what that represents for me. Lastly, this is where it gets a little more vulnerable, a little more emotional for me as well. Let me hide my personal information here. But this is a letter that I got, and I carry this with me everywhere. I have a little memory box at home that I can kind of keep all my high school memorabilia, even memorabilia from my junior high school, or any of those like Wrigley days, or my Cubs games with my mom. I keep all those ticket stubs in a little memory box, and I brought it to school last year, and I realized I never really looked at it, and I would always fear that I was going to lose it or something like that, so I only brought a couple things back. And this letter I got from the state a couple of years ago, and it was when my dad and I were having a really rough, well, it wasn't a rough patch, we had a really negative relationship my entire life, and then when I became, grew into maybe my 8th grade, freshman year, sophomore year, as I mentioned, I had a rough time, and I kind of realized that our relationship wasn't just negative, it was abusive, and it was really harmful to me, harmful to my culture, harmful to my foundation as a person, and I was able to find my voice and talk out about different things that was happening in my home. That was supposed to be my safe place. It was supposed to be where I was happiest. It was supposed to be where I loved to be, and it wasn't that. So I got this. I reported different situations that happened between me and my father to DCFS on numerous occasions, maybe 4 or 5 times, and they never believed me. It was always, well, there's no evidence. You didn't take any pictures. You didn't have any, bodily injuries. You never had any police reports filed or anything like that, and I was never believed. So of course, these things kept happening. My dad wasn't even notified that this was going on. So why would he stop, what he was doing? So finally, with persistence, about the 5th or 6th time, I got this letter from DCFS, which is the Department of Children and Family Services, saying that there was evidence of child abuse in my home. And with that, my father was put on a child abuse registry for 5 years, and his employers found out he wasn't able to be a coach on my brothers and sisters' teams anymore, which I also believe that he was negatively impacting some of those children as well. And for me, that just kind of showed the strength and resilience that I didn't think that I could have, but with time and with persistence, I was able to accomplish what I wanted to. And this is just a letter, this doesn't mean anything. He's an accountant. He's never it's not like it directly impacted his life and changed his course. So he probably doesn't even care. He probably forgot that even happened. But for me, it shows that with time and with persistence and with that resilience that I've somehow found in myself, that you can get things done, no matter how much they impact you, or whether how big of a deal it is. I was this, 14, 15-year-old boy contacting the state, contacting the government, saying that these things were happening in my home that nobody knew about but me. And it was really hard. It was really hard to get through the beginning of my junior high career, where I was supposed to be enjoying my life, and it kind of started to allow me to realize that I'm not. There's somebody that's ruining that for me. And so now, forever, I will know. And this is why going into education is so important to me, because I want people to know that whatever's impacting you, whether it's a bully or whether it's a parent or a step-parent or a grandparent, whoever it is, if they're negatively impacting your life and they're making you miserable, you can change that. You can contact people. There are services. Our state can be messy, but there are services in our state that can help you from these situations. So I talked about how there were maybe 4 or 5, instances where I wasn't believed. So I'm not super fond of DCFS, to be quite honest, but I want to be that person that my students can turn to, and I can relay them to services that are appropriate to them when they're struggling with things, whether it's at home or in school or wherever. I want to be the person that they can was in a situation where I could have just gone with it and I could have been miserable for a very long time. But instead I chose to turn for help and be able to find the strength to ask for help, because it's not an easy thing to do. So that's something that's super important to me, and represents a lot more than, a list of people. It represents to me that strength and that, bravery that I didn't know I had. So as I mentioned before at the beginning of this video, a lot of these things aren't really ethnic, they're not, nationality related, because that's just not something that makes me as a person. So I could talk about, my Irish grandmother and all of her stories and her shepherd's pie and things like that, that I've had great, I've had great experiences with, I have great memories with, but they're not who make me. So I feel like this presentation allowed me to kind of explore my own culture, my personal culture. It allowed me to think for myself and think who I am as a person, who my culture is. These are kind of things that kind of represent those values. These are, again, my name tag isn't a cultural artifact, but it represents a lot more than what it is. This is why I'm glad I got to share them with you all. So thank you for listening, and excuse my voice. I'm getting over a cold, so it's kind of put off the video as far as I could before my voice comes back. But of course it didn't, so here we are. But thank you for listening to my story, and thanks for being a part of my culture. So